There was a time when Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops 2 stood at the absolute peak of the gaming world. These weren't just games, they were cultural moments. Everyone remembers the maps, High Rise, Favela, Nuketown, and the campaigns that people still quote more than a decade later.
That's one less loose end.
Multiplayer had a pacing and energy that felt fresh, chaotic, and addictive. For a lot of gamers, these titles defined what Call of Duty was supposed to be. But here we are, years later, with Modern Warfare 2's reboot, Warzone, and most recently, Black Ops 6. And the question keeps coming up. Has Call of Duty fallen off? Or has it simply evolved into something different? In this video, I want to dig into that, looking at numbers, community sentiment, and design changes to figure out whether COD has truly lost its magic. Before we can fairly judge what Call of Duty is now, we need to look back at what made those older games so special. MW2 and BO2 were more than just shooters. They were lightning in a bottle. The maps were designed with balance in mind. They were compact but varied, encouraging players to learn every corner and angle. Kill streaks felt rewarding without being overwhelming, and for many, it was that perfect mix of chaos and skill. The campaigns also hit hard. MW2 gave us jaw-dropping moments that still get talked about today, while Black Ops 2 experimented with branching narratives that felt ahead of their times. And then there was the community.
Damn, it's quiet on that side now.
Oh! It's quiet on that side now, isn't it, boy? Listen to you fat f***ing redneck sitting in front of your Connect mic with your nuts hanging out of one side of your shorts. Shut the f*** up!
Call of Duty wasn't just a game, it was a social hub. People stayed up late grinding, trash talking in lobbies, or sharing secrets about maps and glitches. Add to that commercial success. Black Ops 2, for example, grossed over $500 million in its first 24 hours. And it's easy to see why so many people look back at that era as the golden age of Call of Duty. So, where does Call of Duty stand now? On paper, the franchise is still one of the most dominant in gaming history. In total, it sold over 500 million copies worldwide, putting it among the best-selling franchises ever. More recent entries like Modern Warfare 2 actually broke records, becoming the fastest-selling COD title at the time, and Black Ops 6 has had the largest launch weekend in franchise's history. Clearly, the series still has the ability to draw massive attention and revenue when a new title drops. But if you look a little closer, you start to see cracks. Despite its record launch, Black Ops 6 has seen a noticeable decline in active players. By late 2025, reports showed that the overall player count was down compared to previous years. And on platforms like Steam, average and peak player numbers have consistently slipped month to month. In other words, people are still buying Call of Duty in groups, but fewer are sticking around to keep playing long term. That disconnect between sales and player retention is a big part of why so many fans feel that franchise isn't what it used to be anymore. So, why do players feel like Call of Duty has fallen off? One obvious reason is fatigue. The yearly release cycle, while financially successful, leaves little room for true innovation. New games often feel more like incremental updates than groundbreaking entries. And then there's the complexity. Over the years, COD has layered on so many different systems. Battle passes, seasonal updates, cosmetics, weapon attachments, live service elements, that what used to be a straightforward pick-up-and-play shooter now feels bloated to some players. Map design and pacing are another sticking point. Older titles thrived on tight, balanced maps where encounters felt consistent and skill-based. Newer maps tend to be larger, more vertical, and more chaotic. And for some players, this is exciting. For others, it feels like the game has lost its focus. And of course, there's monetization. Microtransactions, premium skins, and bundles dominate the conversation in ways that weapon balance or campaign storytelling once did. Many feel like the priorities have shifted from delivering the best possible gameplay to extracting the most revenue. And then we have nostalgia.
Remember, no rushing.
Whether we realize it or not, part of the reason MW2 and BO2 feel so legendary is because of the era they were released in. Online multiplayer was still fresh, and people had fewer competing options. Nowadays, Call of Duty just isn't competing with itself. It's competing with Apex Legends, Fortnite, Valorant, and dozens of other polished shooters. That makes it harder for the franchise to stand out in the way that it once did. But, to be fair, it's not like Call of Duty has lost everything that made it great. In fact, in many ways, the games are better than ever. The production value is incredible. From the graphics, to the sound design, to the motion capture in the campaigns, the technical polish has never been higher. The content pipeline is also much larger. Players get seasonal events, new weapons, new maps, crossover content, and live updates that keep the game feeling fresh for those who stay invested in it. The franchise has also become more accessible. Crossplay has opened the door for friends on different platforms to play together, something that would have been unimaginable in the MW2 or BO2 days. And while not every experiment works, COD has at least shown a willingness to take risks, whether it's with the new movement systems, zombie modes, or narrative choices. For all its criticisms, the franchise still dominates headlines and conversation whenever a new entry releases, which speaks to its enduring cultural footprint. So, has Call of Duty really fallen off? It depends on what metric you care about. If you're measuring raw sales and cultural relevance, then no. Call of Duty is still a juggernaut, and arguably the biggest FPS franchise in the world. But if you're measuring innovation, player satisfaction, and community passion, then the story gets more complicated. Launch weekends still bring in massive numbers, but retention drops off faster. Many fans argue that the series feel more focused on monetization than gameplay. And compared to that excitement of MW2 and BO2, it's fair to say the spark isn't strong. What we might be seeing isn't so much a collapse as a shift. Call of Duty has matured into a live service platform, constantly updating and chasing trends, rather than reinventing itself with every new entry. Whether you see that as evolution or decline depends on what you value most about the Call of Duty series. If Call of Duty wants to recapture some of its old magic, it might need to revisit what made those Golden Age titles so iconic. That means emphasizing tight, balanced map design, prioritizing gameplay over monetization, and trimming down the bloat that can overwhelm new players. At the same time, the franchise has to keep innovating in ways that feel meaningful, not just cosmetic. Remasters and throwback content might satisfy nostalgia, but to truly thrive, COD has to deliver experiences that stand shoulder to shoulder with its best entries, not just remind us of them. So, has Call of Duty fallen off since the days of MW2 and Black Ops 2? In some ways, yes. The excitement and cultural dominance of those titles is hard to replicate. But in other ways, no. The franchise is still one of the best-selling, most talked about series in gaming history. The truth is somewhere in between. Call of Duty hasn't collapsed, but it definitely has changed. Whether it continues to thrive depends on how well it balances innovation with tradition, and how much it listens to the community that made it great in the first place. What do you think? Is Call of Duty past its prime, or just in a transition phase? Let me know in the comments below.